The Rangers dominate the Islanders and cruise to a 4-2 win. The Rangers also light up their nemesis, Semyon Varlamov. We get some fisticuffs, and Blake Wheeler and Tyler Pitlick each score in their first game as New York Rangers. All this and much, much more on today's episode of Locked On New York Rangers.
You're Locked On the New York Rangers, your daily podcast on the New York Rangers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back, Blue Shirts fans, to episode number 907 of the Locked On New York Rangers podcast. I'm your host, John Chick. Just want to thank you guys, as always, for making Locked On New York Rangers your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms, including YouTube, and we are, of course, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So the Rangers take down the Islanders 4-2 in their preseason home opener. They obviously play host and get Madison Square Garden rocking on really the first couple of minutes of this game. The Rangers jumped out to a 3-0 lead very quickly. More on that in just a second. You know, I would say that the Rangers kind of bounced back from their preseason opening loss in Boston against the Bruins. They lost 3-0 there, but you almost can't really say that because it was almost an entirely different group of players that was on the ice here. But regardless, very strong showing for the New York Rangers. I think we're already seeing some traits of the simple fact that this is a Peter Laviolette coach team. The Rangers were very physical in this game, very aggressive, and like I said, got off to a fantastic start, storming out the starting blocks and building a 3-0 lead. I believe just 3:10 into the action here, and we might as well just go ahead and start with that. Just a crazy start to this game. First of all, let me just say it's nice to see the Rangers basically light up Semyon Varlamov. I feel like over the past couple of seasons, they've started to do a little bit better against him overall, but for a couple of years there, and really even pretty much ever since Varlamov's been an Islander, he's kind of had the Ranger number, has been kind of something of an Islander killer. You know, for a while, the Rangers would always throw Georgiev out there against the Islanders because he was kind of the Islander killer. Varlamov was the Ranger killer. I might have said that backwards a second ago, but you know what I mean. Varlamov has had the Rangers number quite a bit, but they've started to do a little bit better against him, and preseason or not, you know Varlamov doesn't want to go out there and get lit up and give up 4 goals playing just half this game, but that's what ends up happening. The Rangers score just 15 seconds into the action here. There was a quick whistle after like 6 seconds or so, but then the Islanders, I thought they turned the puck over clean, but then you watch the replay, and it actually looks like maybe Adam Fox got his stick on this. Basically what happens, the puck is in the Islander zone. Islanders have the puck, they make a pass, and the one Islander is kind of skating back toward the Islander net, and Fox is pressuring him. Puck comes loose, goes right to Kaapo Kakko. Kakko gets the puck, spins to his right, and just flicks a shot immediately at the net, which we want to see more of that from Kaapo Kakko. Just shoot the puck, especially when you get an opportunity like this. Don't look for that extra pass. Kakko was in great position to shoot here, and he also had the element of surprise because that turnover really came from out of nowhere. And like I said, just spins to his left, fires it at the net, and scores. 1-0 Rangers just 15 seconds into the game, and they were on top for good at that point. We also had, barely over a minute later, Ryan Lindgren takes a shot from the blue line. The save was made by Semyon Varlamov, but he got it in his glove and just was not able to catch it clean. So the puck was basically laying there. Tyler Pitlick, he finds the loose puck. He's all alone in front of the Islander net, and he shoots and scores, and it's 2-0 Rangers just like that. So Tyler Pitlick scoring just 1 minute and 18 seconds into his first game as a New York Ranger. I know it's preseason, but it's still the first time he's been out there playing in an actual hockey game for the New York Rangers. Islanders basically just forgot to play defense here. I don't know how they left the front of their net that wide open. And obviously, again, Varlamov could have caught this clean, but the Rangers making the Islanders pay for some early mistakes here, which is obviously a big part of hockey as well. And you can also give assists on that play to Erik Gustafsson and Barclay Goodrow. Gustafsson, like we said, he's in that battle with Zach Jones for the 6th defenseman spot. I thought he played very well in this game. He hit the post. We'll talk about a little bit of some of the things that he and some of the other new Rangers did in a little while here in today's episode. But yeah, Gustafsson picking up an assist, as does Barclay Goodrow. You also had, this was kind of what turned out to be the catalyst for some nastiness and some physicality and even some fighting in this game. Kakko and Othmann, they looked really good on the rush here. Nice little give and go. Kakko to his left to Othmann. Othmann back to Kakko. Kakko unable to score here, but after the scoring opportunity came and went, Kakko took a pretty big hit from Mayfield, got back up and kind of went after him, did Kaapo Kakko. So that's nice to see as well. Kakko not going to take any you-know-what from anybody. Somebody Kakko's become a more assertive player, since he's been in this league. And I think we're seeing more and more evidence of that with every passing season. And obviously nice to see him standing up for himself. But then not too long after this, Othmann, I think it was the same shift, delivers a big hit behind the net on Aho. There was a whistle. Everybody on the Islanders jumped on Othmann. There was a penalty to Othmann on this play. Gustafsson and Kakko got in there in the fisticuffs as well. The penalty was given to Othmann, but it ends up being a 4-on-4 because the Islanders took a penalty for roughing. So again, all these things just kind of setting the stage for what turned out to be a pretty chippy, pretty nasty game. One of the more intense Ranger-Islander games that we've seen in a while, and it's the preseason. So that's kind of interesting in and of itself. But we end up with the 4-on-4. It's already 2-0 Rangers at this point. And then we get Chris Kreider stealing the puck at the Islander blue line, basically just picked Mayfield's pocket, went in alone and scored on that breakaway move that he always goes with, where he kind of just moves across the crease, brings it to his backhand, and just tucks it home before the goalie can close off the post there. But yeah, 3-0 Rangers, 3:10 into the action, and the Islanders take a timeout, which is pretty funny in and of itself. This is the Rangers, or rather the Islanders' first preseason game, first time that they've taken the ice for an actual game, and they're having to call a timeout just barely over 3 minutes into the action here. So a fantastic start by the Rangers, very opportunistic, making the Islanders pay for some of their mistakes that they made in this game. And obviously that's a great thing to see, especially after we saw the Rangers get shut out in Boston. Again, it's preseason. You don't want to freak out too much about, one or two things that go wrong, but to see them explode out of the starting blocks the way they did here, I was having fun with it, and I'm sure a lot of you were as well. As far as line combinations for this game, they seem to be mixing and matching a good amount. And I think, again, that's the product of the fact that this is a preseason game. And Laviolette has talked about wanting to try different things throughout the preseason, throughout training camp. But this is at least how they started. These were the lines that were given to us from the MSG broadcast. You had Othmann, Trocheck, and Kakko. So Othmann getting some run with, two more prominent Ranger forwards. And we talked about in our last episode the fact that Mika Zibanejad and Artemi Panarin were both going to sit out this game with what are believed to be very minor injuries. On one hand, it's a bummer. I want to see them out there, and certainly I don't want anybody to get hurt. And, we want to see the Rangers star players go out there and gear up for the season. But the silver lining here, and something that could even be spun into a positive, is with no Panarin and no Mika, this is the preseason. The games don't count anyway as far as standings are concerned, and you open up opportunities for somebody like Brennan Othmann and also even Johnny Brodzinski to get some time in the top six and show what they can do. Both those guys, they're in different parts of their career, Othmann and Brodzinski, but they're both battling to hopefully be on this roster at the start of the season. I don't think either one of them probably will end up being on the roster, but they're at least getting an opportunity here. And Othmann, like I said, getting out there with Trocheck and with Kakko and playing pretty well in this game. You had a second line of Kreider, Brodzinski, and Wheeler. Wheeler obviously ended up scoring a goal in this game. I thought he looked pretty good as well. Obviously, the first glimpse of him in a New York Rangers sweater. The third line was Goodrow, Bonino, and Pitlick. I think in the regular season, well, I don't think, I pretty much know, that would be the fourth line and not the third line. Goodrow, you never know. He can move around the lineup, and maybe he starts on the third line. Maybe Jimmy Vesey is there on the fourth line, but Bonino and Pitlick, you pretty much pencil the two of them in for the fourth line. Pitlick scored a goal in this game, as we already covered, and Nick Bonino almost ended up with an empty netter. And again, I thought both players looked good. They were tenacious, and that line in general earned some praise from Peter Laviolette after the game. The fourth line, Edstrom, Lecision, and Rempe. Rempe ended up playing kind of a role in this game. He was very physical out there and ended up getting into a fight, and we're going to cover that in a second as well when we get to the big fisticuffs section. I've kind of been touching on it off and on through the whole episode here because this was a physical, chippy, nasty game, but we've got a whole section on that coming up for you guys in just a second. As far as the defense pairings, the top four was what you would expect to see on opening night in some variation. You had Lindgren and Fox out there together. You also had Miller and Trouba out there together. And who knows, maybe we'll see Lindgren with Trouba. Maybe we'll see Miller with Fox. But one way or another, I would be shocked if that's not the top four Ranger defensemen come opening night. And then the third pairing, Gustafsson, he got out there with Hollowell. Hollowell, it was actually his birthday, turning 25 years old. And with Gustafsson, again, he is the guy, one of the few players on this team, I think, that's involved in a true battle as far as being out there on the ice on opening nights. Gustafsson versus Jones. And as we've been talking about, you can maybe throw Ben Harper in there as a dark horse, but I think it'll probably be Gustafsson or Jones. And Jones played well against Boston. Gustafsson played well in this game here against the Islanders. So the battle is on. I think Gustafsson has the inside track, but we'll continue to keep tabs on that as the preseason progresses here. I'm going to keep everything rolling in just a second. Want to talk about all the rest of the fisticuffs and the physicality, at least those incidents that we have not already covered. We're going to do that in just a second here. But first, we got to let everybody know that today's episode of Locked On New York Rangers is brought to you by DoorDash. Love the convenience of getting what you want right to your door? With DoorDash grocery delivery, you can stock up for the week or order last-minute cravings conveniently. You've trusted DoorDash to deliver your favorite restaurant foods, and now you can get grocery delivery that actually delivers too. With thousands of grocery stores to choose from, you'll find the best in your neighborhood and boost your local economy with each and every order. You'll get exactly what you ordered, or we will make it right. So sit back and enjoy quality groceries just like you picked them yourself. With easy substitutions right in the app and best-in-class customer support, DoorDash delivers groceries exactly how you want it. Get 50% off your first order up to a $20 value when you use code LOCKED at checkout. Limited time offer. Terms apply. That's 50% up to $20, no minimum subtotal, and 0 delivery fees on your first order when you download the DoorDash app in the App Store and enter code LOCKED. Don't forget, that's code LOCKED for 50% off your first order with DoorDash. All right, we just want to go ahead. Thank everybody, as always, for making Locked On New York Rangers your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. And for the everydayers, don't go anywhere. We're going to have one more episode for you guys later this week. We've got Rangers hosting the Devils on Thursday night at 7 p.m. Going to be breaking down whatever happens in that game. Very, very much looking forward to that. And yeah, we're going to obviously keep tabs on everything happening in training camp and practice, all the ongoing storylines and battles for roles in the top 6, the top 4, the roster in general. You guys know the drill. We're going to be right on top of everything that happens with the New York Rangers. As far as this game, though, one big theme coming out of it is the fisticuffs and the physicality. As I mentioned a couple minutes ago, this is one of the more nasty Ranger-Islander games that we've seen in some time. Part of it might be you've got guys on both sides trying to make an impression, and one way to do that, especially if you're not somebody that's going to go out there and be a point-per-game player, is to play physical and play gritty, stand up for your teammates, get in somebody's face when the occasion calls for it. And the Rangers played a very physical game in this one. They set the tone right off the bat. They were out-hitting and outworking the Islanders, and this is what we've talked about when it comes to Laviolette coach teams. They rarely get pushed around. They tend to be the aggressors, and they err on the side of let's go out there and throw our weight around and hit and let them know that, we're kind of the big dogs here. And we saw quite a bit of that from the Rangers in this game. But there was kind of an ongoing series of events throughout this game where one kind of just led to the next pretty much throughout the entire night. You had a situation early in this game. We mentioned a couple of the hits, the big hit by Othmann and the fisticuffs that happened as a result of that. We mentioned Capo Caco taking a hit from, I believe it was Mayfield, which was kind of an unnecessary hit, and after the play had already happened. But then you had something here where Trocheck went knee-to-knee on Maggio. There was just a big collision near the Islander blue line, and I know some of the Islanders obviously didn't like the knee-to-knee contact. I can't think for a second that Trocheck is doing this on purpose, that he's looking to hurt anybody out there. I mean, the knee-to-knee play, you think about it, it's a dirty play, obviously. You don't want to have guys doing that, going out there and leading with their knee into somebody else's knee. But when you think about it, it's also just an incredibly stupid play because, yeah, if you purposely put your knee into somebody's knee and you're looking to hurt them, that's really bad. But guess what? You can hurt yourself on that play too. I mean, it's a dirty play and a stupid play, and which is why I don't think Trocheck was doing it on purpose. We know Trocheck goes out there, he plays gritty, he'll talk a big game, he'll do things to get under your skin a little bit, but I, for not 1 second, would call him a dirty player. And, obviously he's on the Rangers, so maybe I'm a little Ranger biased, but I said the same thing about Trocheck for all the other teams that he's played with in his career. Not once have I ever thought of or looked at Vincent Trocheck as a dirty player. He's a pest, and he'll drive you nuts out there if you're playing on the team against him, but that obviously doesn't make him a dirty player. And again, I think this was just an unfortunate thing here, knee-on-knee collision, and obviously happy that both players seem to be all right after that happened. But Trocheck was kind of a marked man from the Islanders for the rest of this game. You had a situation where Johnson was later going after Vincent Trocheck, and Johnson ends up taking a double minor. Again, Johnson clearly did not like the knee-to-knee contact that Trocheck made with Maggio. But basically what happened on Trocheck's next shift, I think it was his next shift, he got knocked down to the ice by a different Islander. I didn't catch who it was. They showed the replay, and the camera was really far away. Couldn't really see the number, and I don't think the announcers mentioned it either. But once Trocheck was down on the ice, Johnson went over to him, and I don't want to say cross-checked him in the head. That makes it sound more vicious than it really was, but basically kind of put his stick on Trocheck's head and kind of pushed forward. Wasn't like a savage cross-check or anything like that, but he did that. And then with Trocheck down on one knee, Johnson basically punched him in the face twice. Trocheck's sitting there. He's just like laughing and shaking it off and not retaliating. And props to him for doing that, because this gave the Rangers a 4-minute power play. So that was great to see Trocheck obviously keeping his cool and basically driving his opponents nuts, as he's kind of been known to do. But then everything that happened here, this later led to Johnston having to fight Matt Rempe, who obviously saw what happened. The two of them were chirping at each other from the bench, and Johnson was saying something about, "You're going to have to deal with me," kind of a thing, and Rempe obviously obliged. In the second period, they dropped the gloves in front of the Ranger net after exchanging some words on the ice. They previously were chirping at each other from their respective benches. Now they're on the ice. They continue to both talk a little bit of smack, and the gloves are down, and away we go here. And I got to give the decision to Matt Rempe in this fight. They both landed some punches. A lot of body blows from Rempe on Johnston. I would say, again, he kind of won by decision here. It wasn't decisive, but I thought that he landed more punches and stronger punches than Johnson did. Rempe was also, he was sporting a shiner under one of his eyes. Apparently, this is from what happened in the rookie series where the Ranger rookies were playing the Flyer rookies. But yeah, Rempe, again, this goes back to something I talked about earlier in the episode. If you're somebody who, especially if you're a forward and you're not somebody who's going to go out there and dazzle people with your skating and put up all these crazy offensive numbers and, unleash these blistering one-timers, whatever it might be, then you have to do some of the dirty work if you're going to eventually make it onto an NHL roster. And I think that's especially true when you're a late-round pick, as Rempe was, a 6th-round pick in 2020. He went number 165 overall to the Rangers. Center, big guy, 6'8", 240 pounds, now 21 years old. He was an alternate captain for the Seattle Thunderbirds of the WHL for his last 2 seasons there, what turned out to be his last 2 seasons. And then this past year, his first season with the Hartford Wolfpack, 6 goals and 4 assists in 53 games. He was also an even plus-minus. But Rempe was noticeable in this game. He was physical. It's hard not to notice him. I mean, the guy's an absolute tree out there, 6'8" and 240 pounds. Him and Blake Wheeler in the first period were laughing about something together on the bench. Blake Wheeler's probably thinking, like, who is this kid? I like him. But regardless, Matt Rempe doing the things that he has to do if you're a late-round pick, to get noticed. I mean, I can't picture for a second that he's going to start this season on the opening night roster, but he goes to the Wolfpack. If he does well there, if the Rangers feel like they need more physicality, more toughness, if somebody gets hurt, maybe Rempe at some point becomes an option. I think there'd be some other guys in front of him, but obviously Rempe probably improving his stock here and at least getting noticed by the coaching staff, you would have to think. And as I mentioned, Rangers, Islanders, to me, it's a rivalry that, it'll always be there. And there are people that will always tell me this is the Rangers' biggest rival no matter what happens. I did that top 5 Ranger rival episodes. I had them at number 5. To me, though, this rivalry in recent years just hasn't had that spark. It hasn't had that nastiness. It hasn't had that, oh man, Rangers, Islanders tonight. The way that I think some other Ranger opponents, they kind of have that big game feel before anybody even takes the ice. Yeah, I think, maybe this is the start of it picking back up again. We will see what happens come the regular season. They actually have a second preseason game against each other as well, so we'll see what happens there. Going to keep everything rolling in just a second here. I want to talk a little bit about the Ranger goalies, Igor Shesterkin and Dylan Garand. They both had solid nights despite not really being under fire for, the majority of the night, but they both played well. I want to talk a little bit about Brennan Othmann. And I mentioned earlier that Peter Laviolette had some praise for the Goodrow, Bonino, Pitlick line. So I'm going to discuss that in just a second as well. All right, we'll go ahead and keep everything rolling here. So Igor split the game with Dylan Garand. They both played very well in this game. They split the net. That was the plan going in. Igor played the first 29-38. Garand got the last 30-22. Igor stopped 10 of 11. Garand stopped 11 of 12. And There weren't really any jaw-dropping, incredible highlight reel saves here from either goalie, but again, they both did their job. I think it also, the fact that they didn't have to make any spectacular saves also speaks to how well the Rangers defended in this game. Even the 2 Islander goals kind of were the result of bad luck for the Rangers. The first goal for sure, the Islanders, they were on the power play, the very tail end of a power play. They ended up scoring with like 3 seconds left in the man advantage here. But basically, you had a slap shot that went wide, bounced perfectly off the boards, or completely imperfectly if you're the Rangers. Bounced right off the boards, right behind the net, came back in front on the other side, right to an Islander there that was waiting, and a little stuff-in goal. Not a whole lot that could be done there, just kind of a bad bounce for the Rangers. I mean, I guess you could argue the Igor could have gotten over there faster, or the Rangers should have had somebody on him, but this really was just kind of a bad bounce for the Rangers. That goal by the Islanders cut it to 3-1. The Rangers later made it 4-1 on a goal by Blake Wheeler. And then the second Islander goal, this one was against Garand. You know, the Islanders score on the rush here, so I guess you got to give credit where it's due. But even here, they got a little bit of a lucky break because they were separated from the puck, and it kind of just went right back to a player on the Islanders, and then he passed across the crease, and the Islanders scored there from the doorstep. So we'll give them a little bit more credit, the Islanders, on the second goal that they scored. But for the most part, Rangers defend extremely well in this game. Just not a lot of high-quality scoring opportunities for the Islanders, and even when they got quality opportunities, the Ranger goalies were up to the task. Yet Igor Shesterkin, I would say his best save probably came on a scramble early in the second period. The Islanders started the second period pretty well, and, you know, just a scramble in front of the net, and Igor dealing with it, and, you know, he can do that. I mean, he's a fantastic goalie, and he'll make these ridiculous glove saves and these sliding saves and everything, but even on the more chaotic plays when everything kind of breaks down, he tends to really kind of hold his ground there and keep the puck out of the net. We saw another example of that here. Nice save by Igor. Igor also, this happened when the Islanders were on the power play. We saw him with one of his trademark clears and or long passes. Basically, the puck went behind the Ranger net. Igor went back there and got it and just flung it up the center of the ice and out of the zone. Like, get that puck out of my zone kind of a thing. So that was cool to see. Igor, obviously, one of the better puck-handling goalies in the league. And maybe this is the year. Maybe this is the year we see him finally get his empty netter. It's funny because at the end of the game, the Islanders actually did pull their goalie. And I'm thinking, like, where are the fans? Like, this is where everybody starts chanting Igor. Rangers have a 2-goal lead, and then I had to remind myself, oh, right, he's not finishing this game. Dylan Garand was in there at that point. That'd be something if, you know, we're all anticipating an Igor Shesterkin goal, and then all of a sudden, you know, this 21-year-old rookie that's never played an NHL game shoots the puck into the empty net for the Rangers. That would have really been a sight to see. But, yeah, Igor was fantastic in this game. I mean, I say fantastic. He made all the saves. We'll see much better performances than this from Igor. It really just comes down to the fact that he wasn't really tested that much in this game, but obviously made all the saves when he had to. And then as for Garand, I thought one of his better saves was in the third period. Just did a really nice job closing off the near post. The Islanders with some good quick puck movement and took a shot from the right faceoff circle, and Garand quickly moved to his left, gave them nothing, steered the puck aside. There was a situation where Ryan Pulock, he took a shot moving up the right side, kind of from the right face-off circle. Garand made the save there, fought it off. Pulock got to his own rebound, and Garand stopped that as well. So, again, they did the job. They made the saves when they needed to, and both goalies, I thought, looked sharp in this game. Shifting our attention to Brennan Othmann, rather. He played well, 16 minutes and 22 seconds of ice time. There were only 4 Ranger forwards that had more ice time than Othmann. And a couple of them, it was only a matter of seconds. So Othmann played about as much as just about any Ranger forward in this game. It's nice that they're going to give him a long look. But, I mean, he looks comfortable. He looks right at home at the NHL level. And, again, I don't think he's going to start the season with the Rangers. But I would not be surprised in the slightest if he ends up, you know, obviously starting this upcoming season, ends up getting a call for the New York Rangers this upcoming season. I also mentioned earlier that Peter Laviolette had some high praise for the Goodrow, Bonino, and Pitlick line, and I got the exact quote here. You've got a couple of face-off guys. You've got guys that defend well, that are penalty killers, that can get you out of tough situations in your own zone. I think players like that and lines like that, when they're together, they really take pride like that's their job. I thought for the first showing of them being together, I thought it was a really good line for us. And yeah, I mean, that obviously kind of goes back to what I was saying where, you know, this fourth line for the Rangers, it's a little bit in flux. We don't know who the 3 guys are going to be, but Goodrow, Bonino, and Pitlick played very well together. Maybe VZ is on the third line. Maybe VZ is on the fourth line and Goodrow's on the third line, or maybe Brennan, Othmann, or Will Cooley, maybe one of them ends up making this team after all, and then somebody like Jimmy Vesey maybe as a healthy scratch on opening night. I mean, I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves here. I did think coming into training camp and the preseason and everything that Jimmy Vesey's job is secure, or mostly secure, but he might be somebody that ends up having to earn it. Maybe he's in the mix with somebody like Tyler Pitlick as far as, trying to earn the 12th forward job on the Rangers, and maybe the door is at least somewhat cracked for an Othmann or a Cooley to be out there on opening night. The only other big thing that I want to talk about here was how the Rangers defended down the stretch in this game. The Islanders pulled their goalie down 4-2 with 3 minutes left. And I thought overall the team defense was outstanding for these final 3 minutes. The Islanders barely even got any shots on goal. And when they did, fairly low danger scoring opportunities. But you had all the usual suspects out there, or guys you would expect to be out there. Pitlick, Trocheck, Lindgren, Fox, and Kako were on the ice at the same time. Kako's earned rave reviews for his defense. It seems like on the penalty kill, it's not really his strength. And, playing good defensive hockey and penalty killing are two different things. I mean, they're somewhat related, but Kako, he did get some penalty kill time in this game as well, but that's interesting to know that maybe Kako is somebody that we see on the ice at the end of the game when the Rangers are trying to protect a 1-goal lead. We had Dylan Garand making a couple of saves. Chris Kreider was out there. He chipped the puck out of the zone with just over a minute left. Dylan Garand made a glove stop with 45 seconds remaining, and then Nick Bonino, as I mentioned earlier, came close to an empty netter. He basically played the puck out of the Rangers zone down the ice, and it was in line to go into the net, but it basically just kind of ran out of steam as it was getting close to the Islander empty net, and the Islanders corralled the puck and prevented it from going in, probably stopped about 3 or 4 feet in front of the net there. And with Bonino, I get the feeling that he probably did that on purpose, didn't want to just fire the puck down the rink at the empty net, because if you miss, it's an icing. Whereas if you play it softly like he did here, or somewhat softly, it doesn't end up being an icing. So a selfless play by Bonino there. And then your 3 stars of the game, Tyler Pitlick is the 3rd star, Blake Wheeler the 2nd star, Kako the 1st star. All 3 played very well, and all 3 scored a goal in this game as well. I figure we could pretty much call it there for today. I might look into doing some live post-game shows after some of the games this season, the preseason, the regular season, whatever it might be. Definitely not the West Coast games. I'm not staying up that late to do a post-game live show after some of these games that start at 10 or 10:30. But yeah, I want to mix in a couple more of those this season. We've done a couple live shows in the past. We did one for free agency this past offseason. We've done it for the trade deadline in seasons past as well. So might start mixing them in a little bit more often. We will see. Also, we got our fantasy draft coming up on Sunday the 8th at 8 p.m. Eastern time. So if you're in the league, definitely, set a reminder, do whatever you got to do, mark your calendars, and definitely looking forward to that. And obviously, Rangers going to be back in action on Thursday, and we'll talk about whatever happened after that game in our next episode of Locked On New York Rangers. But that will do it for today, guys. Once again, if you'd like to get in touch with this podcast, please send an email to lockedonnyrangers@gmail.com. Once again, that is lockedonnyrangers@gmail.com. Definitely give us a follow on Twitter as well, at @LO_NY_Rangers. Once again, that's at @LO_NY_Rangers, and definitely subscribe to Locked On New York Rangers YouTube channel. Thanks again, guys. I will see you next time.